Alright guys, so let's jump into your basic modeling tools and a few different selection tools as well. So as we went over in the UI video, up here in our top left hand corner we have our sketching tools with our eraser, our line tool, which has also got a freehand line tool, which I never really use, our arc tools, and then our shapes here: rectangle, rotate rectangle, circle, and polygon. The way Sketchup works is you guys will typically draw a 2D shape. Once that 2D shape is drawn, it will create a face. All right, and then that face you can kind of extrude up using this push-pull tool here, which we'll jump into in a moment. So if we were to kind of draw a shape, right? Let's draw a pencil. Right, now we're going to draw a rectangle. We could just come into our shape, into our rectangle, click once and drag it out. But just for illustrating this, we're going to jump into our pencil and we're going to draw a rectangle using the pencil. Okay, so normally I'll start around the origin point. All right, so I'm going to click once. All right, and then you'll notice that that's started or created a start point for my line. Now it will kind of come out and it'll snap to the green, red, and blue axes really quite nicely. So that's a beautiful thing about SketchUp, right? Now if you notice down on this bottom right hand corner, it'll show us the length or the measurement down there. So as I drag out, you'll notice that that length and measurement is increasing or decreasing. Right, so you can use that measurement down the bottom right hand corner to make very, very approximate kind of dimensions. However, if you guys want something a little bit more specific, once you've done your first initial click to create a start point, you can come out in the general direction that you want, and then we can type a value into that. So I'm going to type in 5,000 right now. And you'll notice down in the bottom right hand corner, it's highlighted yellow now, and I've typed in 5,000 and it comes up in that bottom right hand corner. Now all I need to do is hit enter, and you'll notice now it's created a 5,000 mil line or 5 meter line along that green axis, sorry. Now if I zoom in on that and we come out this way to kind of create our second shape, you notice that it's just chained that line along. So it's just asking me to create or continue on with that line. And we can snap into the red axis point, type in 5,000, hit enter, all right. And then we can come down here, notice it's snapping to the green axis again. All right, come down, click once. And you'll notice here that I've got a series of lines, and once I finish or create a closed loop, it's going to create that face there. That face is what we're going to use to create a 3D geometry. So this is now where we can kind of go up to our push-pull tool, or we can hit P on the keyboard, and we can click that once and drag up. Now you can click once and drag up, or you can click and drag. However, I wouldn't recommend clicking and dragging because it's very approximate. So normally what I'd recommend is click once and just move your mouse button, and notice again down here in the bottom right hand corner, our distance is changing. Now we can go and use that for very approximation or very approximate kind of measurements, or again we can just type in 5,000 into that and hit enter, and now we've got a cube of 5 meters by 5 meters by 5 meters. So that's pretty much the basics of your modeling. It's very, very easy. Any shape that you guys can imagine, you create the kind of face for that, and then you use the push-pull tool to extrude it out. Okay, but this kind of rolls us into our selection tools as well. So if we want to select this, all right, we can do a single click, which is going to select our face. Now, if we do a double click, it's going to select the face and the edges around it. Now, if we do a triple click, it's going to select the face, the edges, and everything that it's currently touching. Okay, now this is very, very important because it kind of introduces the concept of stickiness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. Now in order to select it, I'm going to click and drag from the top left down to the bottom right. Notice here I've got a full square out. Now this selection method is only for selecting things that this kind of box encompasses. So if I end it here, you'll notice that this is selected. All right, but we're not selecting this because I did not encompass all of that. So if I click out and drag over it, now I'm encompassing all of the box, and you'll notice it now all gets selected. The opposite to this is a marching ant. So if I come from the bottom right, all right, notice how we've now got marching ants, and basically anything that this kind of touches will just automatically select. Okay. So the easiest way to kind of illustrate this is if we grab our rectangle up in our sketch tools, we're going to drag this out. All right, now if I go from top left to bottom right, notice how I'm not encompassing all of that shape, okay? And now only the two lines have been selected. Now if I come from bottom right to top left, I don't even need to kind of touch on all of it, and notice how it all gets selected though with the marching ant kind of selection way of doing things. Now, our selections are very, very important, all right? And so are groups and components, right? So this is kind of a shape. So I'm triple clicking on this and I'm going to duplicate this out in order to kind of illustrate something very, very quickly. Now, in order to duplicate, I can come up to my move tool or hit M on my keyboard. All right, select a point. Notice how it snaps into different points, such as end points and mid points. All right, and I can hold down Control on my keyboard. It is slightly different if you're on a Mac. All right, and I can hold down Control, click once, and drag it out. And just like that, we've created a duplicate. Now I'm going to move these so that they intersect each other. All right, and this is going to introduce our concept of stickiness really quite well. Okay, now notice how if I'm moving that now, all right, the previous cube that we kind of created moves along with it. All right, so Sketchup has a thing called stickiness, where anything that kind of sticks to each other, or geometry that sticks or touches to each other, will be stuck to each other, and you kind of need to counteract that or deal with it. The way we get around this is if I hit Control Z and create that separation, is through groups and components. So in order for groups and components to be illustrated, what I'm going to do is triple click on this. All right, we've now selected all of the box if I orbit around, and we're going to right click on this and notice how it brings up a menu option. In this menu option, we're going to go make group. All right, and you'll notice that it's now, if I do one selection click, it selects all of that entirety, and now I can kind of move it out of the way. Okay, if I want to make changes to that group, and it's the same for components, what I'm now going to have to do is double click on that, and notice how we've now got this bounding box up, and it now allows us to kind of click on these individual faces and make changes or adaptations as we need to. Now this other cube, what we're going to do for it is we're going to triple click on this, right click, and we're going to make this a component instead. Brings up a dialog box, all right, and we're just going to call this test. And we're going to create. I'm not so worried about the rest of it. If you guys want to add a description and everything else, you can. But for me, a title is enough. Okay, so we got a group on the left here and a component on the right. Now, just like before when we kind of grabbed our move tool, all right, and we held down Control in order to move some stuff around. All right, we're going to do that again. However, I'm going to teach you guys something really, really quite helpful. And that is if you guys do that once, all right, so again, I'm holding down Control, clicking once and moving it out, and now if I hit X, have a look down on the bottom right hand corner, if I hit X on the keyboard and go times by 6 and hit enter, notice how it duplicates that out 6 times. Okay, now the other way you can do this is if we select our component on the right hand side, select our move tool by hitting M on the keyboard or move up in here, all right, snap to a endpoint just here or into a midpoint, all right, and I'm going to hold down Control again, and I'm going to move out to the far side here. All right, now this time, if we have a look down the bottom right-hand corner, what we're going to do is do a backslash, or a forward slash, sorry, and we're going to do a divide by 8. All right, and we're going to hit Enter. Oh, that did not work. Let's try that again. Hit our Move tool, snap to an endpoint, hold down Control, move it out, and go forward slash by 8. And notice now that it's created or divided that space into 8 even segments and placed a element at each of those. All right, back to our groups and components. Remember, groups are on the left, components are on the right. Now, groups act very, very differently to components. So if we have a group and we go and double click on that, again, notice the bounding box, and we make changes to this group, all right, it's not going to affect any of the other groups that we kind of created. All right, so we just kind of made that one bigger. Let's kind of halve this one. So again, using our sketching tools, we can kind of divide this shape in half, and then we can grab our push pull tool and we can push that out, and notice how it'll snap into that face, click off, all right. And so now we've doubled this shape and halved this shape, and notice how it hasn't made any changes. Now, if we can jump over to our components, notice what happens here. Let's double click on this, notice our bounding boxes this time. And if we grab this face, notice initially how every other face in our components is also selected. So if we now grab our push pull tool, again hit P on your keyboard or come up to push pull tool, and we're going to double this up. So we're going to click once and we're going to drag up. And we're going to drag this up and type in 5,000. Now you'll notice as I'm doing that, notice how every other kind of component there that we created is also moving. So 5,000, hit enter, right? And now let's jump into a different component, and we're going to do a half one, right? So we're going to grab our pencil tool because we're going to do a little bit of a sketch on this face. And now you'll notice that all these triangles have kind of been replicated along all of our components. Let's grab our push pull tool and let's move it out. Okay, so you'll notice there that it Groups and components act very, very differently. Components will affect every other component that you've created, whereas groups are kind of just grouped, and they will kind of just stop you from kind of facing that stickiness. So if we have a look at this group here and we move it across, notice how now, even though they're touching, all right, we can unattach them very, very easily, all right, without having to be conformed to that stickiness concept. All right, same with your components. So if I grab this and I kind of interlock these, I can uninterlock them or remove them without having to conform to that stickiness. So hopefully that gives you guys a clear understanding of both modeling in general, selection tools within SketchUp, and then groups and components.